So next up is Nikki Bennett, a PhD student in anthropology. Her presentation title is Direct-to-Consumer Canine Genomic Services, Evaluating Consumer Motivations, Perceptions, and Responses to Test Results. Nikki.
So this is my dog Skylar, and I adopted him 2 years ago. And like most people who adopt their dogs, I got a limited history because his owner had passed away. But what if I told you that there's actually a technology that exists that people are using to kind of fill this gap of missing information? Direct-to-consumer genetic test services are those in which you can purchase these tests without the need of a healthcare provider. We've all seen the commercials, right? 23andMe, where they tell you that you can learn your ancestry, or you can learn about certain traits that your DNA may hold, or even some health aspects. To give you context to how large this industry is, it's currently projected that the human genetic sector will be worth $31.8 billion and the animal sector $6.4 billion by 2027. Now, to bring this back to the United States and to the direct-to-consumer industry specifically, it's currently valued at $340 million. Research into the market as to why people use these tests for themselves or how they respond to the test results has been extensively studied. But unfortunately, people who are using these tests for their dogs or their cats have yet to benefit from this type of research. This is even more surprising considering some important dates. For example, the dog and cat genomes were sequenced at the beginning of the 21st century. Even further, the first genetic test became available in 2007 for dogs. 2 years later, they switched to the same direct-to-consumer model. And of course, cats are like always the afterthought, right? Like you don't even know they're in the room until they pop up. So 2016, they finally got a test. So to fill this gap, colleagues and I collaborated with Wisdom Panel. And just so you know, this is the company who developed that first dog DNA test. We asked their existing consumers why they wanted to get their dog genetically tested. How did they perceive that experience? And also, how did they respond to their dog's test results? Another thing that I want to say that was important to us is to designate this as a pilot study, since this was such a novel area of exploration. When we asked people about what was their primary reason for having their dog genetically tested, 83% said they did it to learn their dog's breed. We also presented them with certain statements that are called Likert scale items. And when we said, I did this to learn about a dog that I have limited information on, 73% strongly agreed with this statement. When we evaluated their perceptions of the experience, they said that the results were trustworthy. 51% strongly agreed with that statement. But even further, we wanted to know how they perceived the utility of each individual test returned. So we asked them, do you think that the breed results are accurate? And 52% strongly agreed with this. But where it was a little interesting is that 46%, which was the majority of where they clustered, had no opinion about the health information that they received. So in responding to their test results, 97% of our participants said they responded by discussing their dog's test results with someone else, most often family and friends, with a little over half saying they did talk to a veterinarian. We asked them to tell us, well, what did you talk about? 91% said they shared their dog's breed result, and again, only 28% focused on the health aspects. Though to be fair, we asked them, what would you do if you had a question? And 77% said that they would talk to a veterinarian. This this line of inquiry has broad implications and that numerous academics, such as myself, study the human-animal bond and all the factors that can influence it. As I've mentioned, the veterinary care field is impacted by this industry because they're receiving test results that they can either choose to include their veterinarian or exclude their veterinarian. The industry can also benefit in that they can learn about detected consumer behaviors and patterns. And of course, not least, the consumers themselves can benefit. And I think it's worth saying how they can benefit is how all these agencies are connected. If veterinarians are talking to academics or the scientists behind this industry, they can learn about how these tests work, and then they can serve as a point of contact for those consumers who may have questions. Even further, if the industry is talking to veterinarians or academics, they can learn about possible indirect uses of these tests and develop interventions to prevent negative outcomes. And for those wondering, no, I have not used one of these tests yet. Thank you.